Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
Eddie Hearn got in a picture with, is it a fan on a train basically, and on that picture there was like a little notepad, thought nothing of it, with writing on it. Then I go on Twitter and I see a load of people tweeting saying that this is Fight Camp because they zoomed in on it and it has a list of potential fights. And well, it does say Fight Camp week 1, week 2, week 3. Now week 1 is the easiest to read because it's the closest. Week 3 I can only make out one fight. The rest of them, I'm seriously struggling here. And I'm struggling at the best of times to make out some names, so you can only imagine when it's this small. But I'm going to read verbatim the fights he has listed. Now, some of them I might be getting wrong because, as I said, the writing is a bit hard to read, so bear with me. But fight week 1, Conor Benn, Adrian Granados, I should say. Good fight. Good step-up fight for Conor Benn. He's durable. I think Danny Garcia is the only guy to stop him. Been the distance with Broner. That was a real competitive fight. A lot of people felt that Adrian Broner lost that fight, but he is a solid, durable opponent. I know people said that about Vargas. Vargas, I think, had been stopped a few times, but that stoppage was premature. Although you could say he was hurt, and he definitely was, you got to give him a bit more of a chance than that. Second fight on that card, Courtney versus Ball. That's a rematch from last year's Fight Camp. Shannon Courtney, we all know, coming off back of a win over Ebony Bridges. Rachel Ball, she beat Shannon Courtney last year. Rachel Ball is ginger. She's like the female version of Garfield, basically. So that's that. They've scribbled this out. Zelfa Barrett versus Kiko Martinez. I don't know why that's scribbled out. Whether they're trying to put that fight on a Fight Camp or not. I like that fight. I thought that Kiko Martinez was very hard done by in the first fight. Certainly by a scorecard. I think two of them were 118, 110, which is bullshit. Anthony Fowler versus nobody. And when I say nobody, I literally know, but there's no name there. So I'm just assuming it's Anthony Fowler versus God knows who. Kieran Conway. But I think that's probably too... I'd love that fight, actually. That'd be an interesting fight. But I think that's probably too soon after his last fight. So Fowler's on that card. This one, again, interesting. Cullen versus Yildirim. Jack Cullen, the little lever's meat cleaver, versus Avni Yildirim. Okay, I would favour Yildirim in that fight. Yildirim is probably European level. I think that's fair to say. Obviously against Canelo, he was completely overmatched. That was a gross mismatch. Yildirim is tough. He's tough. He comes to fight. He throws some punches. He's not the biggest puncher in the world. Jack Cullen, again, the same. He got a very fortunate draw against Zach Chelly on Fight Camp last year. I thought he lost that fight. Against John Doherty, I thought that fight would be a lot. I didn't think he'd win that fight, but he went in, he put on a great performance against John Doherty, who was, going through people at the time. As he lost to Felix Cash, took a bit of a beating in that fight, was knocked out and around by Roy Sheehan. That was a couple of years ago. That was on a prize fighter tournament here in Ireland. So Jack Cullen, he's kind of domestic level, it's fair to say, but he is tough, he is durable. That'd be a fun little scrap. That's a fun little fight. Campbell Hatton, of course, he's going to be on that card. They don't have an opponent announced, but let's be frank, it's going to be someone with a very, very poor record who we've never heard of. It's not me having to go with the kid, it's just the way that they're going to build him like that. I mean, you're talking 10, 15 fights against nobodies, because he's very crude, Campbell Hatton. You look at people like Eubank, you look at people like Conor Benn, who else? You look at there's other names there as well. They look better than Campbell Hatton did. And they didn't look good. Like Eubank Jr. early on in his career, a lot of people were saying, people say Eubank Jr. isn't world level or he's not this. Okay, fair enough, but he's improved immensely compared to what he was. I mean, if you look at Eubank Jr. when he turned pro, he was shocking. But he looked better than Campbell Hatton. So they're going to take their time with him. Is that Ryan? Or it looks like Ryan, or it could be Ryland. So maybe Ryland Charlton, I don't know, I'm probably reading that wrong, I just can barely make it out. Week 2, we go into week 2. We have Kid Galahad versus Jazza Dickens. It's a decent fight. It obviously would be for the vacant IBF World Featherweight title. We obviously know Kid Galahad won the first fight. Jazza Dickens he's been improving. He's been improving as Jazza Dickens, so that's an interesting fight. So again, world title fight, no problem with that. Decent scrap, it's a solid fight. Marku, I think it is Florian Marku. I think it is actually against the Romanian guy. Shout out to Doug. He wrote to me on Twitter saying it was Marku. And naming the guy, I can't remember the guy's name, but the Romanian guy is actually undefeated. I think he's 16, 17 and 0. So Florian Marku on Fight Camp. Okay, let's go. Interesting. Florian Marku, very big in Albania. You know, I mean, you see people who do videos on Marku, you know, they get crazy views. We have Ebony Bridges versus Beck Conley. Alright, now we obviously know who Ebony Bridges is. Beck Conley is... I've seen Beck Conley a few times against Rama Ali and Ellie Scottney. Beck Conley is... She's very crude. Both girls are lookers, so that's actually good. You know, they're both eye candy, so that's not too bad. I'd favour Bridges in that fight, strongly. Ebony Bridges. Beck Conley is tough, but she's very limited. Very limited. Johnny Fisher against... no one. They just haven't announced any fights for him. And this is the last one. This is the last week, and this is where it really gets tricky, because I cannot for the life of me make out any of these names. Only one. I can make out Joshua Buatsi, and they have Bolotniks, Ricards Bolotniks, the winner of the Golden Contract. Yes, please. Now that's a fight. That's a tricky fight for Joshua Buatsi. That's a very, very, very tough fight. Ricards Bolotnik is one of those fighters where his record doesn't do him justice. He's got 5 losses. I think he lost it to Beeson Bachuni up a cruiserweight. He is very much... like, put it like this, right? That Golden Contracts tournament, I believe, if memory serves me correctly, Stephen Ward was the favourite. And he picked Bolotniks. I think he was the number 1 seed and Bolotniks wasn't seeded. He knocked him out in a round. He beat the crap out of Jose Burton. And then Sergio Mikel, I think the guy's name was, he stopped him with 10 rounds. Excellent fighters, Ricards Bolotnik. You know, he is, I think he's trained by the same guy as Myris Breedis. So him against Buatsi, that's a step up. You know, personally, I would pick him over Kalik every day of the week, Bolotnik. So him against Joshua Buatsi, it's a very tough fight. It's a very tough fight, you know. Bolotnik can definitely punch. He's physically strong. He's fought up a cruiserweight, so he's probably going to be a bit bigger than Joshua Buatsi. And from a boxing point of view, he is very good. He's a character. You know, you see his interview when he won the Golden Contract. It's actually quite funny. Go and type that in on YouTube. It's actually funny. Ricards Bolotnik. So he looks like a character as well. So that's an excellent fight as far as I'm concerned. Joshua Buatsi. To be fair, the 3 main events are actually quite good. You know, you have Dickens versus Galahad. Solid. That's a solid main event. Bolotnik versus Buatsi. Very much intrigued. That to me now is a pick'em fight. I'd even go as far as saying that would be 50-50, because that's a very good fight. As far as I'm concerned, that's a tricky one, because Bolotnik is very, very good. Don't let his record fool you. He's very, very good. You know, very improved fighter. And Ben versus Granos. Again, you would favour Ben in that fight, but he's durable, Granos. Now, saying that, he'd probably seen better days 4 years ago when he fought Broner, so how much does he still have left? But I'm sure if he's got any ounce of himself left in him, he should be able to... He'd be fiddly for Conor Benn. I favour Conor Benn strongly, but he'd be fiddly. In terms of the rest of the fights, like I said, Yildirim versus Cullen, okay, it's alright. Ball Courtney, seeing that, see how this one goes. Shannon Courtney, I would favour Shannon Courtney strongly in that fight. Marku, Bridges, you know, Johnny Fisher. Again, I cannot for the life of me, because it's so... the writing is so small on the 3rd week. Unless you, even with a magnifying glass, you wouldn't see that. So I can't really say yay or nay about the 3rd week, who's on that or what's on it, to be honest with you, because I can only really see one fight. But again, the main event is solid, so whatever they put on the undercard, we'll wait and see. So Fight Camp, I think it said at the end of July, so we're looking at Fight Camp end of July. It's looking good. They'll have a bit of an atmosphere in it this year, because there will be fans. I can't imagine Eddie Hearn's going to let many in his back garden, you know, even if they had full attendance. I can't imagine he's going to put many in his back garden, but I enjoyed it last year. Obviously, last year these were the first cards after, you know, boxing was gone. So these were the first cards Matchroom were putting on. So they were decent. They were all actually quite decent, to be fair. Eggert and Cheeseman. I think you had Cash versus Wellborn. Obviously, it culminated in Povetkin versus White. They were all decent cards. You had decent little scraps on it. I wonder if they're going to put Kiko Martinez versus Selva Barra on the 3rd week, because that's still a good little scrap. And I want to see the rematch of that. You know, I thought, as I said, Kiko Martinez was very hard done by in the first fight. So they might reschedule that for the 3rd week in Fight Camp. Either way, it's a good fight as well. So watch this space. They won't... I think they done 5 Fight Camps last year, but obviously different scenario last year. Everything's a bit more open now this year, thank God. And we'll see how it goes. So that's my thoughts on this. Let me know yours. What do you think of the fights I've just discussed? Did anyone make out? Because because I'd be interested to know, did anyone make out what the third week was? Because all I could see was scribbles. You know, my vision's quite good, but I couldn't make out jack shit what was on that third week. So let me know in the comment section below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button if you did. Hashtag GMads Rocks, all that good stuff. For now, let's I'll talk to you. Peace.